Okay.
Verses that use that word equal.
We're
26. I'm just curious.
How many wings of you?
Only thing I can think about.
I'll search that.
You're not going there, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so on the one hand, he says, I just lost it. I just advanced it. I just lost it there. Now, you will indeed listen to my voice, fear, obey, you will keep my covenant. You will be to me a special people more than all peoples, because all earth belongs to me. And you, okay, so this next verse, and you, then again another emphasis point, right? You will be to me, for me, as far as I'm concerned, or for my benefit in a sense, I think perhaps, a kingdom of priests. Right? Kingdom of priests. That in itself says something about their role that he's offering there. A priest is something that stands between God and the people, right? The intermediary. Right? So he's offering them an opportunity to become a priest nation to the world. And that's where we get the idea, of course, in the Old Testament, where for people to connect with God, they need to connect to Israel. Okay, so a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Holy meaning what? Set apart nation. He's already talked about being set apart by becoming a segula, if you will. Right? Okay. And then, so what's that statement? And these are the words that you shall speak to the sons of Israel. Again, the sons of Israel, not the house of Jacob here. Okay? So then, and Moses then came, following the story. Okay? Moses came and he called the elders of the people. Okay? So, in fact, this kind of relates to what was done in the preceding chapter when he kind of delineated how the judgment pattern was going to work. Right? I mean, these leaders lesser leaders, if you will, who take some judgment and the hard stuff goes to Moses. Anyway, the elders said, I'll call the elders of the people and set before them all these words which Yahweh had commanded. Okay. Moses went and he called and he set before them all which Yahweh had commanded him. Okay. That's what he said. You go and you tell the people. And now this is the phrase. You see, remember how it works. Give you an option here. I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm giving you an option here. Okay? Are you going to respond to this in some way? Well, and all the people answered together. That's important terminology there. Okay? All the people and together in unison. They weren't divided. They didn't take a 40-50 vote, or 60-40 vote. All the people answered, and they said, they are committing themselves now, okay, to a role and to some obligations that they may not have been aware fully right off. And they answer, all that Yahweh has said, we will do. Right? In other words, here's an option. What was in this context? What is the option? What has been laid out? You'll be my special people. You'll be a priest nation for the world, right? Okay. And a special or a holy and set apart nation. Okay. That's the options at this stage of the game, right? And they say, that sounds like a good deal. Right? But there's something in here, all that Yahweh has done, said we will do. He hasn't said everything yet. And later on, this option is going to return to them as to whether or not they buy into this. And after everything was said and done, they buy into this and say, yes, we will do that. Right? And so to finalize this section then, Moses returned the words of the people to Yahweh, right? Okay. So what we have here is an initial offering, okay, of a relationship. It sounds like a pretty positive relationship, right? Special people, different than all peoples of the earth, if you will. Not only a relationship that involved a connection with God in a special way, but a connection with the world in a different and special way. Right? Okay. So they are people then who become priests, if you will, to the world. Which is a special thing for them. So that's what was offered. Look at what he later on, I'll just read it from here. After he lays out all the rules and regulations, then you have this, and later on he asks them, do you want to do this? And they say, no, yeah, let's do this. Deuteronomy 28, just a couple of few verses, and he says this, and it will come to pass with the same word. If you will indeed obey the voice of Yahweh your God, same wording, to keep, to observe, to do, how it translates there, all his commandments which I am commanding you today, Yahweh your God Most High, will put you over all the nations of the earth. And all these blessings will come upon you and will overtake you. And he listed all those blessings. Right? And he's got quite a few blessings here listed for a number of verses down here. Down to verse 14, and then verse 15. And it will come to pass if you do not obey the voice of Yahweh, your God. To observe, to do, same wording. Okay. All his commandments and his statutes which I am commanding you today, and all these curses will come upon you and will overtake you. And then, from verse 16, all the way down, all the way down to the end of the chapter, practically, a list of curses, if you will. Okay? And they get very detailed. Okay? It's detailed. Blessings are detailed. Curses also are very detailed. Okay? So, before we look at some other verses and expand upon this further, we've got an inauguration, an acceptance, and consequences of the covenant that are kind of laid out there in broad brush here. Okay? It covers all the way through Deuteronomy, if you will. Okay? The purposes we have laid out for the covenant are then what? Well, we're talking about the Mosaic covenant only now. Was all-encompassing legal basis for Israel's life under the kingship of Yahweh. All-encompassing. That means all aspects of life, okay, as a legal basis. There were certain things that had become part of the covenant that they were already doing as a customary thing. Now they get to do it as a legal thing. Okay? And also, the concept there is that Yahweh then is king. See, these covenants based, particularly this one, vassal treaty form, which Deuteronomy is in and of itself, is a king and his vassals or his people over whom he rules, right? Okay? And so the concept underlying that whole covenant idea is that Yahweh is king. Right? And later on in the history of Israel, you recall, when the people asked for a king, just like all the other nations. And what did God say? Well, they haven't rejected me. They rejected me as being their king. Right? But go ahead and give them one, so they did. Then secondly, the Mosaic covenant contains divine principles embedded in covenantal obligations. That's important, and we've talked about that when we're talking about application. Okay. The obligations weren't just, see, we've got a covenant, we have to have some rules. This makes 613 hard to keep rules for people to follow. Yeah, that would be different than all the other peoples of the world, right? Yeah. No, there are rules that had solid reasons for it. Now, we can't always define specifically all those reasons, perhaps, right? But they weren't just rules that came off the top of God's head, so to speak, without having a real rationale for it, a real necessary purpose for it. Okay? So there are divine principles involved there. Okay? As we shall see, some of them are specifically laid out. As in the tithe, for instance, let's say the third year tithe. Well, there's a purpose. It's laid out so that the poor can have something to eat. Right? So you can take care of the poor. And then this covenant, this Mosaic covenant, thirdly here, provides a comprehensive way of life for Israel to follow, social, civil, religious matters. Okay? So it's not only a legal basis for their life under the king's authority, but it's a way of life, okay, for them to follow in all aspects of life. So that we find in Israel, we don't find what we find in other cultures, maybe even in our own, it's clearly in our own, the divide between the secular and the religious. Okay? Everything falls, all of life falls within the religious realm. Okay? Everything. And there's no difference between the secular, the division between the secular and religious. So regardless whether it be a social issue, an economic problem, an inter-Nicene strife of some sort, it's all related to a religious condition. And by the way, it would not be a bad way for us to live our life, right? Consider all of life sacred, not just some is sacred and some is secular, right? Unfortunately, many of our people in this country, religious Christians and non-Christians alike, seem to divide things into the secular and the religious. I can remember, of course I'm old enough to be able to remember, when John Kennedy was running for president. He was the first Catholic that was running for president, right? And the problem, of course, that many people saw is, well, gee, then the Pope will be running the country because he can tell a Catholic what to do, right? That was a big threat. Well, what we found out without specific terminology, and I think maybe in some sense specific terminology, but I can't quote it, would be there's a separation between what I do as a politician and what I do as a Catholic believer, right? Well, that would be completely foreign to an Israelite thinker here, right? Okay? Because one is the same as the other. It's all sacred. Okay? So, those are kind of some of the purposes. You might be able to establish even more purposes, I suppose. But these are certainly clear and important ones. You notice one of the one of the things that is not stated in that. What do you think it might be?
The relationship aspect.
Okay, so certainly it's assumed there relationship aspect, but it's not stated as anything that has to do with their spiritual salvation.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So it's not saying this is the basis upon which you go to heaven. It's not there. Okay? It's not what it's all about. The covenant is a way of life, so to speak, more than a way of, and not a way of salvation. Okay? Salvation has always been the same way. Right? By faith through grace, Old as well as New Testament. Okay? Matter of fact, they were saved before they had this covenant option going. At least that's the way I would interpret the statement here in Hebrews. I don't know if kind of easy to overlook, I suppose, some of these words that just kind of crop up and you just kind of read them and didn't really reflect upon them. Okay? Let's see where find it. Abraham obeyed, let's see. Where is that? Exact verse now. By faith they crossed the Red Sea. What was that? By faith. Abraham, okay, that's not the one. Moses.
Where are you at there?
Passover.
What chapter?
Oh, verse 11. Hebrews 11:29 here. By faith, they passed through the Red Sea as through dry land. That's what it says. By faith, they passed through the Red Sea, right? And there's another statement in the book of 1 Corinthians 10, I believe, where it talks about their connection with the rock that was following them, and there's soteriological dimension to all that. Okay? Well, we won't get into that any further. So, this covenant issue is a way of life. It's a way in which God has set up for their relationship. Okay? It wasn't set up to establish, if you will, a relationship. They already had one. Now it's the nature in which how the relationship needs to be maintained, if you will. Okay? But what interesting what happened. Notice the exegetical perspectives in the notes here. Okay, hit each and every one of these sections a little bit. The blessings and the cursings, which are in the covenant stipulations, okay, explain the history of Israel. Okay. If you just take a very probably because you translated, I think. You did the book of Ruth already, didn't you? And you had I need to do it small book. Ruth. Notice just the first few verses of Ruth. Maybe you didn't pick up on it.
Okay.
1,320. Get a hold of that in church.
I had a kid come in late once to Sunday school, so I asked him to read from Hezekiah. I kept him busy for a while.
You know, our pastor, he did something a couple of weeks ago that he said, let's have a little sword drill. You know what a sword drill is, right? So my wife, I mean, she's been through Bible college and everything else, you know, and teaching Bible and everything. So she was working with it just like everybody else, you know, songs, whatever, she goes and then he said Hezekiah 5:7 or something to that effect. Or Hezekiah was in there. She was doing what are you doing? Why are you looking for Hezekiah? Then it dawned on her, it's got to find a trick on this.
What's really good is to give a homework assignment of like Mark 16, 17. And then the next week ask who read it.
Yeah.
And have the kids be like,
Right. Oh, Ruth. This is the beginning of the book of Ruth. Just notice this, and it may have escaped your mind here, but just remember again what I'm talking about, explaining the history of Israel. And it came about in the days of the judging and the judges, or when the judges were judging. There was a famine in the land. Now, if we were to just stop there for a second and go back to Deuteronomy 28:15 and following, we find out that if you don't obey my word of the stipulations, you say the word, if you don't, one of the things that's going to happen is the crops aren't going to grow, right? There's going to be a shortage of food here, okay? There's a famine in the land, okay? So which says right off that at this stage of the game, since God is going to keep His end of the covenant, this was a judgment upon the disobedient covenant people. Right? There's a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem of Judah went to sojourn in the field of Moab. He and his wife and two of his sons. The name of the man was Elimelech. The name of his wife was Naomi. The name of his sons were Mahlon and Chilion, the Ephrathites from Bethlehem of Judah. They came to the field of Moab and they stayed there. So, right off, we're in a context where the nation is suffering famine, and that occurs in the covenant because of disobedience. Now, Elimelech died, wife of Naomi, and she and her two sons were left alone there. Okay? and so the women, the Moabite women came, the name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the second one was Ruth. Now, Verse 5, and they died also, both of them, Mahlon and Chilion. Okay, so the woman was left, deprived, if you will, of her two children and from her husband. Okay, now later on, verse 6. Okay, and she rose up, and her daughter-in-law, if you will, and she came from the field of Moab, because she had heard, while they were in the field of Moab, she had heard in the field, all in the field, that Yahweh, and that's an important word, Yahweh. It focuses upon the covenant, if you will, God had visited His people to give them food. Right. Now there's the blessing starting to fall through. See what I'm saying? So the whole thing is set up, and as I'm saying, look, this is in the background, isn't it? I mean, if you didn't have the covenantal idea in your mind, it was part of your reading, if you will, of the Old Testament. It would just escape you, and it wouldn't mean anything, perhaps. But the reality is that now we're in a setting here where the nation as a whole was disobedient and they were under judgment, and now they had a reversal of spiritual life, if you will, obedience, and now they're in the area of blessing, right? And it's in that context then of blessing where, of course, the whole story of Ruth and all comes out. And ultimately, the importance of the story, of course, has to do with the fact that the Davidic line comes from there, and ultimately the ultimate Davidic ruler, Messiah, right? And so it's very significant. But at any rate, it's in the background. It's not on the surface, is it? Statement. So the blessings and encouragement explain the history of Israel. Now, if you read the history of Israel in the Kings, let's say, where you get a lot of history, right? What you're reading is essentially their obedience to the covenant, and therefore things are going well, or their disobedience and things are going bad. That's what you're reading. Okay? That's why it's happening. Okay? It's not just because of the geopolitical forces that just kind of are, independently moving. God is moving. And He's moving on the basis of His covenant. He's faithful to it. Okay? The stipulations of the covenant become the organizing data for wisdom literature. You think, what? How does that work? Well, let's look at some. Just look at, let's just take the beginning of the book of Proverbs here, for instance. Okay. It's the beginning of the book of Proverbs. Top of my head.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
You got the ball spot on top of my head.
No, I had the big whiteboard behind me.
Just leave it, it's fine.
Well, notice just the first few verses in the book of Proverbs here, Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. Okay, that's just a general statement there. To know wisdom and instruction. Okay. To understand the words of understanding. To understand the words of understanding. Now, just take those ideas, wisdom and instruction. What kind of instruction? Right? And to understand the words of understanding. Right? Or to receive, verse 3, to receive the discipline of efficient knowledge, if you will. Discipline. Righteousness and justice and uprightness. What are the context for all these phrases, words? Well, in some cultures, righteousness would be defined as living according to what? Egyptian laws of the land, right? Perhaps. Or to the rules of Moloch, their god. Right? But for these people, this is Hebrew literature. Hebrew literature then would define righteousness would be defined within the context of their relationship with God, which is covenant related and stipulation related. Right? To give insight, if you will, to the fruit or cunning, if you like, to the fruit or the simple rather, to those who really are not thinking deeply. We've got to give them a little push here towards that knowledge. And to the young man, knowledge and then discretion, that is able to discern. Well, the ability to discern has to be based upon some standard somewhere along the line. And that standard is God's way of life as He laid out. Right? A wise man, verse 5, will hear, which of course then again, not only hear but respond. But now a wise man, a wise man in some cultures would be different than a wise man in other cultures. Right? A wise man in Mesopotamia might be a stargazer of some sort, right? A wise man in Israel, though, is not a stargazer. Right? He's an individual who he's aware of, knows what God expects of people, right? And is able then to take God's expectation and apply it and live it out. And he will gain even more knowledge by that, or understanding, instruction. Right? So, I mean, just as you begin to read the Proverbs and understand and just kind of ask the questions, what do these words mean? Okay, and what is the basis for what's being offered here? It's all based upon the covenant here. Okay. Otherwise, these words don't mean anything or hardly mean anything. Okay. How about these very familiar words that we have in the Proverbs? Okay. My son, verse chapter 3. We love chapter 3, of course. My son, my law do not forget. Well, my law, Torah, right? That rings a bell within Hebrew thinking, right? And it's not just law in an abstract sense, specific sense it is. Okay? So you notice in the second clause, this is poetry, and so the second clause is parallel to the first, but it adds to it in some way. My son, my law, and that's fronted, just to show you some of the dimensions of that. That is, it's put in front as a direct object, but it's fronted or pushed to the front for emphasis, as a focus. My law don't forget, and my commandments let your heart, formulate or instill or keep, observe. Okay? So that my law, kind of generalized term, is now my commandments. So it's the law, it's commandments that are embedded in the law. Well, now, this is written then to Hebrews, and so that means commandments are related to the covenant. If it was being read in Mesopotamia, these commandments would be some other set of rules, if you will. And the promise comes out of that because length of days and years of life and peace, that's good. And they will add to you loving kindness and truth, let it not forsake you. Bind them upon your, upon your garments, if you will, tassels. Write them upon the table of your heart and internalize them. And we love this part. Trust in Yahweh with all your heart, and not to your understanding be inclined, lean on, depend upon, right? Just the fact that it says trust in Yahweh as opposed to God implies covenant. Right? With all your heart, to your understanding, don't be inclined, but all your ways, literally know Him, relate to Him, and all your ways relate to Him, okay? And He will direct your paths in a straight line. And if He's going to direct your paths in a straight line, it's going to be according to His rule for life. Right? So, the whole thing is just in the background of the whole thing is this relationship issue based upon, or at least tied to, his covenant, his obligations. Okay? So we just can't ignore it when we read hardly anywhere. Okay? When you read almost any passage and connect it up. Just look out, for instance, we had you read, third point that I have here, covenant stipulations and blessings, define the condemnations. The source material for the prophetic literature, right? I had you read Haggai. Trust me, read Haggai. Did you read Haggai?
No.
Huh?
Not yet, I was going to do it before tomorrow.
Okay.
I looked at it. I read it in English, and I looked at it in Hebrew, but I am not anywhere near being able to handle it.
Well, I was working on it. Relating to it. Okay.
But you are answering one of my questions. I was thinking, how do you understand the covenant when you're dealing with the prophets and narrative? Of course, I keep thinking of my floating accent. I think, some of the prophets in this situation and how the covenant's affecting them and what they're doing. And David and time of blessing. And years before
How is it? Well, they're Israelites to begin with, and it's post-Exodus time frame. It's when the corporate entity has an obligations under the covenant, right? Mm-hmm. And prophets often arise, okay, just like not only the writing prophets, but the non-writing, but prophets like Elijah and Elisha, they arise in times of, we'd say, times of disobedience. And so they arise for purposes of, at least one of the purposes, is to let them, remind them of their obligations and what's going to happen if in fact they blow it. Right? Because the covenant says both you obey, you get the good stuff, and if you disobey, the bad stuff. Right? So beware that the bad stuff is coming if you don't turn around. Right? Turn off the networks. Now in Haggai, the first few verses just really setting up the time. It's 7 year Darius the king, month, the 6th month, on the day, the 3rd day of the month. This is really nailing it down here. Okay. The word of Yahweh, the word of Yahweh, okay. So terminology, first name of God, kind of related. By the hand of Haggai the prophet, King Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, Joshua, the son of Jehozadak, the high priest, saying, thus says Yahweh of hosts. Certainly, there is a covenant dimension just simply to that phrase. Okay, this people has said, it's not time for the building of the house of Yahweh to be built. Well, now, when we look at the concept of the covenant and the relationship, and even what God said as early as Deuteronomy, before they got into the land, was there's going to be a place that I'm going to call a special place that I'm going to establish, and that's the place that you will come and do your sacrifices and connect, right? And then it becomes they built the house, Solomon's time, right? They built the temple. After the tabernacle became the temple, and that was where they worshiped in Jerusalem, right? Well, that was destroyed. Now we're talking about a repopulation of land after captivity, right? And so they're saying, well, it's not time for the house of Yahweh to be built. Right? Well, now, what does that really say? It puts, if that is the symbol, not only the symbol, but the locus of their spiritual relationship, if you will, fulfilling some of the key obligations, which is sacrifice, day of atonement, these kinds of issues, right? And they're saying, well, it's not time to build a house, establish that. They're really putting that in a pretty secondary position, aren't they? Right? Is that covenant related? Yeah, it's covenant related. Okay. And when you're halfway came by hand, that guy saying, well, is it time for you, and there's a finger pointing going on here, okay? To dwell in your paneled houses, and this house lies desolate. Right? So there's setting things up there, okay? And there's definitely a relationship there. Again, it's in the background, but it's there, okay? Right? Now, this says Yahweh goes, set your heart upon your ways, which is translated often, consider your ways. Okay. And then, it goes into this business of some of the curses that could be outlined in Deuteronomy. Okay? You sow much, choose to bring in little. Right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's part of the curses. For disobedience, you see.
And never hunger and was eat and never full.
Yeah, right. So in other words, we're getting back now to the nitty-gritty of the curses. Way back in the original establishment of the covenant. God said would happen. Okay. And then it goes on with other covenant-related things, therefore. Well, notice verse 10, for instance. Therefore, upon you the heavens has stopped from providing or giving its due. Well, that could almost been directly pulled out of Deuteronomy there, right? And the earth has ceased its produce, its productivity. Shoot. And I call for dryness upon the land, upon the mountain, upon the grain, upon the new wine, and the musk, upon everything that comes out of the ground, upon man, upon beast, upon all the work of your hands. That's restatement of the covenant, the negative parts, right? That become, and then all the way through the prophets. You need to ask the question. We'll get to that when we get to prophetic literature more, but you need to ask the question when these nasty prophets are spewing out their stuff. You have to ask it, well, what connection, what accusation are they bringing from the covenant side? That is, what laws are being broken that they are relating to. But now on the positive side, now when they start talking about all the good things that could come out of obedience, that goes back then to those are also drawn out of the statements in the covenant about the blessing. What will happen when you respond well? Mm-hmm. And therefore, when we understand what they're doing and that connectedness, then the prophets, it makes sense. Okay? Otherwise, they're just nasty people, who like to talk bad. Right? And unfortunately, most of our people in our churches don't read the prophets because they don't understand them. And they can't understand why they're so nasty. And they're not nice. Because they're wrong, in a sense. So, these covenant stipulations and blessings are source material for the prophets. And that's true for both the writing prophets and the non-writing prophets. Even though it's harder to, that is, the non-writing, like Elijah and Elisha, for instance, and some of the other prophets. They're not as vocal as to the specific breakdown of society that they're interacting with, but it's there. And it's not quite as refined. So the stipulations define the condemnations, the blessing and cursing define the judgments and future prophecies. Every aspect, every aspect of the covenant can be seen underlying development of Hebrew hymnic literature. Well, you did Psalm 1, right? I mean, you've read that 100 times. Well, you read it for, you had to do that for homiletics too, right? Yeah. You did a sermon, Psalm. Did you do a sermon from that?
Working on it, yeah.
Oh, you're working on it.
We constructed our outline principles and got our theme. Haven't got our illustrations or introductions, conclusions yet.
It'd be interesting to see the outcome. But you've read Psalm 1, so you know Psalm 1 pretty well, right?
I should.
Maybe I should have you read it.
I can't find it yet. Must have left that page at home.
1087.
There's one thing about reading it a lot. Memorizing it.
Yeah. Well, read the first 2 verses and see if there's anything there that would say this is covenant related.
Well, even this concept of being blessed.
Okay. Right.
So, blessed. Oh, the blessedness of the man which does not walk in the advice or counsel of wicked, and in the way of the sinner, he does not stand. And sit in he does not sit with the scoffers. But he how is
Just delight.
honesty, keeping.
Oh, but that's just
But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and he meditates upon it, and he waits day and night.
Yeah, that's good. Now, is there anything there that would focus our attention upon a particular category of people?
Yeah, it seems he's remembering the covenant.
Well, there's certainly people who are related to the law of Yahweh, and not only the law of Torah, but Yahweh, and the covenant made with God, if he's God there, right? Whose law he meditates day and night. Right? Well, then we bounce that off of verse 1. Is the blessedness of a man who doesn't do some other things, and the nature of the man, the other people are wickedness, sinners, scorners, right? Mm-hmm. All of those are defined as aberrations from the law. Right? So, and we'll look at this more easily.
So, typically when this has been taught that those are unbelievers, you would say these are believing Hebrews who are just not following the law?
The terminology of wicked, sinners, scoffers, is that terminology that necessarily ties them into the spiritual unsaved? No. Matter of fact, we could use those terminologies for disobedient Christians. They can be wicked, they can be sinners, as they all are, and they can be scoffers. Right? They're just disobedient, right? Could that be terminology applied to unsaved people out there? Of course. Is that true here too? Yes. That's right, it can. So that in itself does not dictate spiritual salvation or lack of.
So you would say it's not referencing their state of salvation, in a sense. Their state of
No, there's nothing in there that talks about their state of salvation unless you want to make the leap down to the last verse.
They don't stand in the judgment.
Well, yeah,
they perish.
Judgment.
They perish.
But then that concept perish, what you term that to mean? Is it perish in a sense? And that's kind of a term that has a connotation in our language of eternal damnation there, right? When in fact, the term itself doesn't necessarily have that eternal damnation sense to it, right? Mm-hmm. It has the concept of ruin, to be sure, and destruction, right? But it doesn't in and of itself mean eternally damned. So it depends on what you're going to do with that, I guess. Right? But is there anything in here that makes a distinction between, in the whole psalm, between saved status spiritually or not saved status? That doesn't seem to be parallel with what's going on here. If anything, this difference seems to be between verses 3 and 4, and that center there. Mm-hmm. He will be like a tree planted by the watercourses who will produce its fruit at its time, right? And its leaves won't wither, and everything he does prospers, but the wicked are not like this. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's true. Saved Israelites, and it's also true saved Christians, they can be like this. So they're like the chaff which the wind drives away. And they're not rooted, they haven't rooted themselves. And there's a lot of Christians out there who are unrooted because they don't pay any attention to it, they don't study the scripture, they don't have a foundation, if you will, and they're just blowing around by every wind of doctrine, so to speak, right? Unrooted, and they're unproductive. Right?
So maybe this would be yes, and exhortation to the one seeking to be blessed, but also to the one that might hear this and recognize maybe I'm not being productive.
Right.
Because I'm thinking, who's gonna hear this song? It's not just people that are looking forward to being blessed. There's other people, I'm sure, they're going.
So the whole context of the Psalms in this psalm as well is in the context of Jewish worship, Jewish culture to begin with,
sure,
and Jewish worship again, right? And this psalm, as you pointed out, even without Shrey, right at the very beginning, seems to imply the blessing, and the very last word is the word of cursing, if you will, even though the curse is not there, although it's not far from it. And it's Allah. The very last word, okay? The two oppose one another. There's a blessing and then there's a cursing. There's flourishing and then there's non-flourishing. Right? But the large, broader context of this, from a Jewish perspective, seems to me, would be in the context of both the blessing and the cursing, which is not salvation related as much as way of life related, and therefore experiences of life. That is the good life as opposed to the bad life.
So you could almost break the psalm up into two kind of parts: God's man and then God's plan for that, like the covenant.
Yeah, you could. I suppose there's a lot of ways in which you can do it. But when we get into Psalm hymnic literature, maybe we want to make sure we recognize some other aspects. Okay. So, at any rate, but there's a lot of little things that focus our attention here. For instance, what does it mean? Everything he does prospers. Just that whole concept of prospering, that whole word in and of itself. What parallels are there for this kind of concept, and in what context does it occur, and therefore, what are we talking about?
Prospers according to who?
Well, that's right. And on what basis do you say he prospers? There's prosperity that could be classified as prosperous individual, but the basis of that is thievery, deception, lying, stealing, right? And well, from God's point of view, that's not prospering at all, right? But the context of that is productivity. So, in the preceding clause, like trees and fruit and whatnot. So, what is productivity? Prospering has to do with productivity. Well, what kind of produce? What kind of products? What does a life that's productive look like? And therefore prospers, as opposed to maybe productive, but different kind of product. Of course, here he cuts out of it altogether by saying you have these roots and therefore there's chaff blowing in the wind.
Life and death, too.
Yeah. In fact, this is called, typically, called Psalm the two ways. I mean, that's how it's laid out in the Hebrew literature. It's on two ways. Well, at the very beginning. Well, two ways. Where does that imply? Well, the whole thing implies covenant because there was two ways. Blessing and cursing. There are two ways of life. The way you live your life. Blessed or cursed. There it is, right? So, but all the way through, you can make those kind of connections. And the false connections would be when we, at least without good justification from the text, start making of them spiritual equations. Saved or lost. Because the big issue in the Old Testament is not so much saved or lost as obedient or not obedient. And by the way, that's pretty heavy in the New Testament, but we don't spend much time on that. So, well, at any rate, those are some key issues and perspectives for issues of covenant in the Bible and all aspects of the Bible. Okay. I noticed some illustrations here. I want to look at a few of those illustrations that we have here because they deal with specifics. Although we've already pointed out some, but just take very specifically what it says in Malachi 3:7-12. You know that one by heart, yeah, sure. Malachi 3:7-12. Okay. There's different verse numbering is different here. Anyway, it says in verse 8, you know that phrase, will a man rob God? you say, well, wherein have we robbed you? Now, what's the prayer? The tithe and the offering. Right? That's the accusation. Well, Leviticus 27, which is covenant-related passage. In fact, that's a description of the covenant in that latter part of Leviticus there. Leviticus 27, which is the last chapter. 27, 30, 33, very last part of the last chapter. What does it say? And all the tithe of the land, and the seed of the ground, and the fruit of the trees belong to Yahweh. It's mine, right? Holy to the Lord. Right? Now talk about the word you, etc. It's into that, right? But the point of it is, there's a requirement. You ever had a requirement? Okay? And God is saying, and the accusation of Malachi is, you're robbing me. You say, oh, what do you mean robbing you? Well, the tithe belongs to me, you haven't given me the tithe. Right? It's pretty specific. In Deuteronomy 28, in the passage that we had alluded to, or mentioned actually, read part of it earlier, in 28 verse 12. Okay. Verse 12 says, and Yahweh will open up for you his treasures, the good treasures of heaven, to give to you, bring it on your land at this time, and etc. And bless all the fruit of your hand, etc. Well, in Malachi it was, now if you respond, this was my spot on that. If you respond, I'm going to do what? I'm going to open the windows of heaven. Well, we've got practically a direct quote from Moses here, right? Pour out for you a blessing, etc. That's exactly what it says. So what is the prophet doing? You've broken the law. Here's the specific statement of the law. But to respond positively, you be blessed. Here's a specific statement of the blessing, but that relates to what it says specifically in the law. Or take Joel 1:4. Verse 1:4 talks about all of these locusts that are all over the place, and all kinds of locusts here. 4 different kinds of locusts. 1009. It's going to devour the locusts. It's going to devour these various kinds of locusts. Are going to devour everything. It's like a locust plague, right? There's 4 different kinds. I don't know how your translation differentiates them, because I don't think there's any. I've not seen any real specific delineation of the various species here. How does your translation delineate? I was wondering if you have translation open there.
I got King James.
Oh, okay.
Cankerworm.
Cankerworm.
Palmer worm.
Okay.
Locust. And caterpillar.
Caterpillar.
Have cutting locusts, swarming locusts, hopping locusts, and destroying locusts.
A lot of bugs. No question about it.
That's what the Septuagint says. All the same.
Yeah.
Probably would talk.
Okay,
Okay.
alright. We should put my finger in that spot. Deuteronomy 28. And I say 38.
Creepy.
28, 38. Verse 38 says, you will sow, you'll put out much seed in your field, You bring in little because what? The locust will eat it up. Okay? That's one of the curses, right? For disobedience. So, hey, you got a lot of bugs in your land, you got a lot of locusts that are coming your way. Why do you think that might be? Because you're not living according to the rules, right? It's a curse.
When my garden goes bad someday.
There you go. Now you're misapplying.
Wow. But the scripture says we pray for our land, right? Everything will be good.
Yeah, we'll get to that one of these days. In a basis for a future divine act, I have here Joel 4. Behold, in those days, at that time, I will return from captivity to Judah and Jerusalem, gather together all nations, bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will enter into judgment with them there. Okay. So that future statement of God is really an outgrowth, if you will, of future statements in the covenant. And we'll come back to, that will be verse 32, verse 1. And it will be that all these words of blessing and cursing will come upon you, beside you, and before you, and you will return your heart and all that nations. You will return you'll come to your senses, literally, in all nations where I've driven you, where Yahweh God has driven you, right? And then it goes on and talks about the future act of God on the behalf of His people and His nations, right? So, bottom line is that simply the covenant, what we're trying to emphasize simply here, is that the covenant pervades the Old Testament, right? But sometimes it's on the surface, and this is pretty much, these are pretty much on the surface, even though it doesn't introduce it by saying, as God said in Deuteronomy. But the quotations are so familiar from Deuteronomy, the same terminology, the same words, right? And you almost, you'd really be, you'd be just simply biblically illiterate not to be able to make the connection. Okay? So some of them are somewhat on the surface like this. Others are in the background, right? And it becomes part of the exegetical aspect to recognize what lies in the background of these passages. Okay? So that's the issue of the covenant, Mosaic covenant. We specifically focused on as opposed to all covenants because it's the Mosaic covenant that pervades the function in the Old Testament. So, any comments or questions or anything on that?
It's really important.
If you learn nothing else tonight,
Definitely got that. Well, I mean, in a sense, it's just a big part of context that's been overlooked.
It is.
That's how that's one of the notes I wrote down, is that this is context that I'm just missing if I don't leave it in there.
I would say not only just overlooked, but that overlooking brings about or seemingly permits an abuse of interpretation. Okay? So I would say it's an exegetical context that will help to, what should we say, make the applications to it all legitimate. Because just ignoring that one fact, and all of a sudden you're into soteriological issues or things that are not accurate to begin with, right, and unprovable. Right? Whereas we can prove that the covenant is not a salvation, how to get saved document, if you will. Okay? We can prove that. So we don't want to misapply these ideas in the Old Testament. Okay. So that's all I'm going to say on the covenant. I'm not going to go. My next topic is going to be narrative literature, and I'm not going to start that tonight. Okay.